Hello, this is Alex Colvin, the Flawed Guru. Welcome to the Ripening Time, July 22nd. This is my 5 minutes with the Flawed Guru on the cusp. We're entering the Ripening Time, known in astrology as Leo, when the sun rules. This is a really, really yang time. This is the period, this is the time that, oftentimes for the year is the hottest time of the year, which is a little bit, unusual because the days are going shorter. It's just like in the course of a day, the sun is at its zenith at noon, but it continues to heat up afterwards, and then from 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon is where you have, the hottest period of the day, if there's not some change in fronts or something. And so we are at a period of time now where the days are growing shorter. We've passed the summer solstice, and we're heading back towards the equinox, but it's really hot. So this is a really yang time. This is the most, in terms of our experience here in the biosphere, and the lower realms of the atmosphere, this is the period of time when it is the hottest. And so this time, I'll mention first just in terms of the astrological, the Leo, is strongly associated with individuality. It's like we've come out of, the womb, the initial experience, like of water and the family, and cancer and stuff. Suddenly, like the individuality wants to burst forth, and this is like really, a wonderful thing. It's like the lion, you're a lion, you are, Jesus said, don't you know that you are God's? This kind of time discovering, like as in terms of an individual, where you feel like you're God, you're the center of attention, you're everything, It's kind of interesting, this is like, the polarity is Aquarius, So step back, get things in perspective, because this energy, this strong yang energy, it can be really wonderful. It's the energy, like of the leader, The Aries was like the initiator, but he doesn't really follow through. This is the fixed time of fire, And so, but the thing is, step back, try to get, some perspective. It's always important, because a leader can be a good leader if they're in tune with other people and sensitive to other people. Otherwise they can be overbearing, dictatorial, insensitive, And so then, wow, they find themselves in a conundrum, because here they are manifesting themselves, and other people don't like them, because they feel like, they're, too demanding of attention and too overbearing and too, much, trying to be the director of everybody else's movie. So I always used to say, I'm a character in your movie, you're a character in my movie. I'm happy, to be a character in your movie, but don't try to be the director of my movie, unless I want for a while, having you, to be able to do that, to follow your direction. So, that's the thing, is like to find that in a sort of balance. And then the other thing, in the Amerindian, or Native American, thought, this is the time of the salmon. And the elemental alchemy is fire with water. And once again, that makes tremendous sense. Because if you just have this fire, this heat, like in California, we've been in a drought. And we're blessed up here in the mountains to live where there's an aquifer and there are a lot of natural springs. So, you know, there's water here, but still danger of forest fire because so much heat, you know. So the balance here too, as well as, you know, being able to draw into the airy Aquarian perspective, you know, to kind of, you know, sort of be able to say, okay, I am God, but I am not God. This is God's energy manifesting through me. It's something much bigger, and, you know, God makes the sun to shine on all beings. So, you know, same way, I want to be gracious and magnanimous, not megalomaniacal and self-centered, egotistical. So in the same way, the sun, when the sun is out there, things need water. This is the ripening time, as I said when I opened up. You know, we've been following the various different, you know, the cycle. You know, I started these videos, you know, as we were, you know, in the period of time when the yin was accelerating, you know, back in the Sagittarius time, the Owl time, and went through, you know, the dead of winter and then the bursting of spring, you know, and then the growing time and then the long days time. And now this process is coming to the point where the earth is actually bringing the fruits to ripeness in the northern hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, the earth is bringing the fruits to ripeness. This is a really wonderful, wonderful time. The fruits are not quite yet ripe. In August 1st, you know, is the Lammas, the Lughnasadh of the Celts, what in Britain they call August 1st the festival of the first fruits, because the fruit trees are beginning to bear their fruit. The fruit for most of the things is not quite ripe. Here in the mountains especially, you know, it's like I have some peach trees in the back. This year we had a frost, so no peaches, but the apples are all going. But everything is not quite ripe yet. It's a time of expectation. It's a time of, you know, wow, you know, I can't wait until the pears and the peaches, you know, and everything, you know, are fully ripe. So it's still, you know, it's like we've planted, we've worked, we've had our goals, the fruit is coming, and then it's like, and now it's ripening. And what does it really need at this particular point to ripen successfully? It needs love, you know. It needs to be nurtured with love, with water. Then things need water. California, the whole state, we got water restrictions right now. Up here, even though we're in the mountains and we have a lot of water, we can only water outside 2 days a week. And so, but things need, life needs life. Carbohydrate life, carbon life forms need water. You know, fire and water work together. Fire and water work together in the spring, you know, giving the opportunity for the seeds to sprout and for the grass to begin to grow and everything like that. And now for the fruits to ripen, you know, then all that heat, that's a tremendous amount of energy going into those plants, you know. And that energy is causing, you know, not just a lot of photosynthesis now, but the production of a lot of flavonoids and all the different kinds of things that are in fruits that make them sweet and make them healthy and make them juicy. So that means in order to have juicy fruit, the trees need a lot of water. And so, you know, it's the same thing then, kind of balancing the self-manifestation, you know, that comes along with this period of time with this tremendous yang energy. Then it needs to be nurtured and tempered and fed with a lot of love. Then your manifestation of self becomes a manifestation of loving self. So, you know, there are a lot of different roles that you can play in life, you know, and sometimes, you know, it's like T.S. Eliot said, you know, I am not, you know, Hamlet or the center of the play. an attendant lord, someone to swell a seed. That's fine. Even there, that's a manifestation of love. Ultimately we have all these external forms and all these things that go along, but God is love. And so the stream, the interconnectedness that makes life meaningful and fruitful is if whatever roles we're playing, are we in touch, with the deep wellspring of love? Like up here, the reason why we have a lot of water is because there's a lot of springs coming up. Up in Lake Ajamawi Park, the springs up there produce 1.2 billion gallons of water every day. That's a really loving area. Are you tapped into the springs of love, that come out, and feed, the love that makes the world go round. So, during this period of time, if like when you feel, if you're in touch with and in tune with that yang energy and everything like that, actually to bear that yang energy, it needs to be fed from the well springs of love. So tune into that. And now let's look for just a second at the totem animal of this particular period of time, the ripening time. Very interesting, that in earth medicine, the totem animal of this period of time is the salmon. The salmon. Isn't that something? Well, it's not really that surprising because the salmon are all heading upstream right now. And for the Brits, the ancient Brits, ancient people of Britain, they considered the salmon to be the king of the fishes. And in this area, tragically in this area, Pitt River, all the way up to Pitt River Falls, not too far from here, the salmon used to run. They built a dam down in Reading. The salmon can't make it up here anymore, the salmon and the steelhead. Lots of these big fish, like the salmon, and there are others, they used to, spawn up in the mountains, They would go way, way up as far as they can go in Alaska, all through the Northwest, and actually all over the world wherever they have salmon. They would go up the rivers, and during this period of time of year, they're running now in certain parts of California, in the Trinity and the Feather River and some other areas, the salmon are coming up. These salmon, some of them 4 feet long, big, and they'd come to a little falls, a big salmon like that, they can jump 10 feet in the air. They would come up the falls, and as long as it wasn't too big, they would leap up to the falls, and it's like, they'd go up until they couldn't go any further, and they get to where they were born, then they lay their eggs, and then they die. And then, so they're ripening inside, getting ready to lay their eggs. And then, after the little fishes are born, then boom, they go back downstream, and the whole cycle starts again. They go way down the stream and go out into the ocean, and then they live out in the ocean. And then when this time comes again, then they're called back home. So one thing I say about that is, during this hot weather, follow the example of the salmon. It's good to go up in the mountains. In the mountains right now, in the high altitudes above 7,000 feet, 8,000 feet, it's springtime now. It's amazing. Last week I was up on Mount Shasta with some friends, and we were hiking up. They were younger than I was, so they went further than I did. They went all the way up to this place called Southgate Springs, and Southgate Meadow, where there's a spring coming out of the ground. And it was just like, they're going up the mountain just to get to the spring, in a way very, very similar to the salmon. And what do you experience when you do that? Like, I've got Mount Shasta up there in front of me, and I got Mount Lassen behind me, and, Mount Lassen is a little bit over 10,000 feet. Mount Shasta is 14,000 feet. And you can go up there, and once you get above 7,000 feet, it's like 15, 20 degrees cooler than it is here. And right now, it's springtime. It's really, really beautiful. So I just want to say for everybody, this is a good time to go to the mountains too. So, and to get in touch with that cycle of life. It's like, remember the movie Heidi, it's like the same kind of thing. The deer, the grazing animals, it's like they come, when it gets cold up there, they come down, into the lower pastures. And then when it gets hot, then they go back up there and they refresh themselves. So it's really an interesting balance, that we have in these cycles, knowing what time is it. It's like we go along, we're doing things, and it's good to, it's good whatever you're doing, whether you're living in a city or whether you're, because of electricity and, the nature of our economy and our work schedules, even if where you're living and the time schedule you're living according to is totally out of whack with the natural cycle, it's good to remind yourself, of the natural cycle, and then to do what you can to harmonize with it, to bring yourself into harmony with it. Because the earth has its cycle, nature has its cycle, and that's in our DNA, that's in our instincts, And so a lot of times if we're out of whack with that, then we're not in touch with the divine harmony. So remind yourself then, this is a hot period of time. Then you need a lot of water, that's obvious. Drink a lot of water, go to water, and, go upstream, and go to the higher altitudes, where it's cooler, and reflect upon things. Energize yourself. This is a good time, like for, to feel, to feel your self-value and to share it with others, but also get in touch with the harmony of the earth, and most of all, get in touch with love. Take time. During a time that's an active yang time, then you need to balance it. Take time for reflection, for meditation, especially in the early morning, in the sunrise. Take time to calm your mind, and tune into the divine spirit and tap in with your heart to the well springs of love, so that then that energy, those divine aspects of spirit and heart and love, can infuse your life, and so that then, as you are developing the fruits in your life, that they will be, beautiful and ripe and sweet, so that when the harvest time comes, it can be a time, of joyful thanksgiving and sharing and blessedness. So thank you, and I hope that you enjoy the ripening time.